Greetings everybody, and welcome back to episode 10 of Extreme Evocast, an all-purpose Pokemon podcast where we talk about news, trivia, and everything related to Pokemon. So today is an extra special episode. I know I say that pretty much every episode, but if you're following through with the numbers of the episodes, today is episode 10. Realistically, it's episode 11 because of the bonus episode we had, episode 5.5, but in terms of actual numbers, today is the 10th episode, and it's not really a huge milestone, but 10 episodes is 10 episodes. 10 is the closest, the shortest milestone that I'm willing to celebrate. And I just want to say thank you for, your continued support in the podcast. We're going. I've already been doing this for 5.5 months, almost 6 months, and I gotta say that's absolutely insane. Soon it'll be a year, soon it'll be however long. And for this episode, I have an extra special guest for you. I'd like to welcome Pikachu himself. Pikachu, why don't you say hi? Yes. Yes, Pikachu. Hi. So everyone, give a warm welcome for Pikachu, the actual Pikachu. Trust me, it was really hard to get him available, so I hope you appreciate his time here. How are you doing today, Pikachu? Pikachu! It's good to hear. Alright, well, I hope you guys are doing as good as Pikachu today. Unfortunately, today, as much as I'd like to have a lot to talk about, we do have some important things to talk about, but even though it is the, big milestone 10 episodes, we're not really going to have all that much to talk about, though what we do talk about is going to be pretty cool, because as you know, there was a new trailer dropped for lots of new Pokemon stuff. This was not what I had planned for this episode. I already had a topic planned, which I suppose we'll have to wait for next week. But I can't take a break from talking about this today. There's absolutely no way. Yeah, Pikachu. Okay, that's enough of that. I was gonna have Pikachu be a recurring guest for this episode, but I think he might interrupt me a little bit too much. Yeah, see. So unfortunately, say goodbye to Pikachu. It's nice having you on today, Pikachu. Is there anything you'd like to say before you go? Pika. Pika. Okay, thanks, Pikachu. It was nice having you. Okay, anyway, so like I said, today's episode might be a little shorter. I wouldn't like it to be, but just because we really don't have all that much to talk about, unfortunately. But like I said, what we do have to talk about is insane. So we're going to start out with, of course, a little bit of Pokemon Go news. It wouldn't be an episode of Extreme Evocast without something about Pokemon Go. But the only thing I really have for you today is the fact that, honestly, very surprising, they're adding Armored Mewtwo to Pokemon Go, coming in raids, which is something I did not I don't think anybody expected. Of course, it is a kind of like a promotional thing for the new Pokemon Evolution movie coming out, which is cool. It's kind of the same thing with Detective Pikachu, but I guess it is the same kind of thing. Like, they had Pikachu hats before, so having a Detective Pikachu hat wasn't really out of the norm, but seeing just like a completely new version of a Pokemon coming out in Pokemon Go is pretty cool. Armored Mewtwo. And before we continue on to the big news, there is something I would like to say. There was a contest in the Koro magazine. This is coming from Cerebi directly. A lot of the stuff today, by the way, is coming from Cerebi directly, so thank you so much to Cerebi.net for giving me the information for this episode. It's just a very easy place to get the information. Hope they don't mind. Of course, I would be surprised if they did. But it says right here, back in April, Koro ran a competition for the most powerful Steel-type move's name, and today they have announced the winner. The move, it is known by one of the new Pokemon we're going to talk about today. In Japan, it is Exhaustive Beam, or also another rough translation is Do or Die. This name is a pun based on two different Japanese phrases, making the exact translation tricky. This move, Steel type, is a special with 140 base power and will do a recoil of 50% of the user's HP. So that's really cool. We don't really have that many Steel type moves, so getting a new Steel type move and having it be 140 base power is insane. I'm not gonna lie. That sounds really cool. But, of course, you all expected it. New Pokemon. Let me find the right page here. New Pokemon. So, there was a bunch of new Pokemon revealed in the new trailer that was just released. Yamper has officially been released. I mean, it was technically released. Like, we knew it. We knew that it was in the game. It was officially released, though, in the trailer. It is the puppy Pokemon. Of course, everything we already know about it. It's an electric-type Pokemon. It has the ball fetch ability. A few of its known moves have been revealed just because of the gameplay that it was in. But we have some absolute brand new Pokemon. There is Alcremie. It is a fairy-type Pokemon. It is the cream Pokemon. It is 1 foot tall. It is 1.1 pounds. And its ability is Sweet Veil. We'll be going over some of the abilities later. But because just for the chance to stretch out time and because I'm interested in reading them myself, we're going to read out some of the Pokedex entries for these Pokemon. I'll say for Yamper. Yamper, it says, Yamper has a tendency to be drawn to things that are moving too quickly. It can chase after people and Pokemon or even go charging at vehicles. Yamper has an organ in its body that generates electricity, and this organ is activated when Yamper runs around. Yamper can't store the electricity it generates, so it is often seen running around with electric sparks crackling around it. Cool. And for Alcremie, it says, Alcremie can produce whipped cream, which becomes richer the happier Alcremie is feeling. Desserts made from its cream is invariably delicious, so many pastry chefs strive to have an Alcremie as their partner. When attacked by an opponent, Alcremie will throw sweet scented cream to distract them, or temporarily blind them, giving itself time to escape. The cream it uses for this purpose is also has an incredibly powerful soothing effect, and any opponent that tries to eat the cream will rapidly lose the will to battle. Okay, cool. There was a new rock-type Pokemon, which is Roly-Coly. It is the coal Pokemon. It has the abilities Steam Engine and Heat Proof. It's a foot tall. Like, literally all of these Pokemon are a foot tall. Yamper, Alcremie, and Roly-Coly. It weighs 26 pounds, and it says, its red eye can illuminate dark areas. Well, it uses the lump of coal attached to its body like a wheel to move through coal mines and caves. It seems to be able to travel smoothly even over rough terrain. Until about 100 years ago, every household in the Galar region had a Roly-Coly. The families would use the coal dropped off its body for cooking and heating their homes. Even in the modern day, Roly-Coly is a very popular Pokemon to take for outdoor activities. Cool. It's cute. It's a little, like, I don't know, Roly-Coly. Its name is very, very akin to what it is. And of course, the last Pokemon that we saw, Duraludon, which is that new Steel-type Pokemon. It says, Duraludon, the metal composing its body is incredibly durable, but also surprisingly light. It only weighs about 88 pounds in total. Thanks to this, Duraludon can move quickly in spite of its appearance. Its body is weak to corrosion, however, and is known to rust easily. Duraludon live in caves and mountainous areas. Their two arms have slight different shapes from each other, and they can use these to grind down rock surfaces for food. They share their natural habitat with Tyranitar, and these two Pokemon are often seen battling each other in the mountains of the Galar region. It makes sense. It is a Steel Dragon type Pokemon. Have we had a Steel Dragon type Pokemon yet? I don't think so. If it is, I apologize. If there is, I apologize. It is the Alloy Pokemon. It is the same height as me. It's 5'11", and as it said, it is 88.2 pounds. And its two abilities are Light Metal and Heavy Metal. So what do I think about these new Pokemon? Cool. Very, very awesome. I love them a lot. I really like Roly-Coly. It's adorable. I want to use one on my team. I want to have a Roly-Coly on my team. I want to know what it evolves into. It's adorable. It's a coal Pokemon. I love it. Yamper, of course, adorable. Who doesn't like Yamper? It's a dog. Everybody likes a dog Pokemon. And then Duraludon is Cool. Very, very cool. Really, really cool design. It's interesting. It looks like a gun. It literally looks like a gun. And in the animation that we saw in the new trailer, it was shown like shooting something from the top of its body. It's really weird. It's really, really cool though. It looks like it could be a pseudo legendary, but I don't know. Given the fact that it's dragon type, most pseudo legendaries are dragon types. This could be the final evolution of a pseudo legendary Pokemon line. I wouldn't be surprised, but at the same time, it might just be like a Druddigan kind of like single evolution thing. There is, and of course, Alcremie. I really like Alcremie. A lot of people really like Alcremie. It's adorable. It's cream Pokemon. Reminds me of Slurpuff and Swirlix. You know, kind of like the food, creamy, fairy type design going on there. And next on the list of new things, there is something that I don't think anybody was expecting. Dynamaxing. Well, there are new forms that come with Dynamaxing. There is Gigantamax forms. Gigantamax forms are a variant of Pokemon that occur while the Pokemon has activated Dynamax, but only on special occasions when these Pokemon are caught in max raid battles. These changes are mostly appearance-based, but do come in various changes. Each gains access to a special G move, which is what we're going to be talking about. So, let's discuss the new Gigantamax forms. Alcremie has Gigantamax form. That is a mouthful and a half. It is 98 feet tall. I think that takes the cake, no pun intended, for the tallest and biggest Pokemon as we know right now. Almost 100 feet tall. That's ridiculous. Its ability stays the same. Its weight is who knows. Literally, it doesn't say. Who knows what it's saying. It says, the cream pouring out of its body hardens when subject to impacts. The stronger the impact, the harder it becomes. This gives Alcremie a truly impressive resistance to physical attacks. Additionally, the giant berry decorations on Alcremie's body are as hard as diamonds, but it's said that most attacks won't even be able to leave a scratch. Alcremie will launch high-calorie cream missiles around itself to attack its opponents. Any Pokemon that touches this cream will be filled with energy and euphoria, but at the same time will fall into a state of complete confusion. It gets a new move, which is G-Max Finale. Fairy-type moves used by Gigantamax Alcremie will change into G-Max Finale. G-Max Finale will heal all Pokemon on Alcremie's side while dealing damage to an opponent. So yeah, it's a huge cake. I love it. There's a lot of cool decorations on it. There's like stars, flowers, and even like a little bow with a 4-leaf clover in the middle. It's cute. It's really cool. This was not what I was expecting at all. Like, did anyone expect this? It's like, hey, you like Dynamax Pokemon? Well, here's even bigger Pokemon. It's like, I knew they were gonna add something with Mega Evolution. Well, something with another form, you know what I mean, like, or like another special ability that could be used once per battle, like for example Mega Evolution and Z moves and stuff, and of course Dynamax was the thing, but I didn't expect them to add more. There is a new Gigantamax form for Corviknight. It says becomes 45 feet tall. Gigantamax Corviknight uses its massive wings to catch updrafts created by Gigantamax energy to hover in the air while it battles. The armor on its body has been reinforced, so attacks from Pokemon on the ground barely have any effect on it. Gigantamax energy has caused the armor covering Corviknight's wing to separate and become blade birds, capable of flying independently. Corviknight launches these blade birds at the target, which using them to slash the opponents. And its G move is G-Max Wind Rage. Flying type moves used by Gigantamax Corviknight will change to G-Max Wind Rage. G-Max Wind Rage deals damage to an opponent, but that's not all. It will also remove any effects of moves like Reflect, Light Screen, Spikes, and Electric Terrain that the opponents may have. So, it's a terrain remover, which will probably come in handy when it comes to competitive Pokemon and, stuff like that, because everyone knows that entry hazards are, excuse my language, a bitch. And there is, let's see, I lost the page. Okay, last but not least, there is Gigantamax Dreadnought, which is awesome. It is 78 feet tall. It says Gigantamax Dreadnought. The power of Gigantamaxing has allowed it to stand on its hind legs and become bipedal. From its standing position, it can come crashing down on the opposing Pokemon and crush them with its massive body. Dreadnought normally keeps its neck retracted within its shell, but when it attacks, it can rapidly shoot its neck out. Its jaws are also incredibly strong, capable of easily biting through huge metal towers. Duruligon. The strength of its jaws combined with the force of its neck gives Dreadnought the power to punch a hole through a rocky mountain in a single strike. Okay, Stone Surge. Water-type G-Max Stone Surge. Water-type moves used by Gigantamax Dreadnought will change into G-Max Stone Surge. G-Max Stone Surge doesn't just deal damage to an opponent. It will scatter sharp rocks around the opponent and cause a Pokemon entering the battlefield to take damage. So it's essentially like a damage-dealing move, and it also uses, it does a Stealth Rock. So I just want to say, I want to talk a little bit about my opinion about these new things and like the Gigantamaxing and stuff. Like, this is insane. Like, Pokemon becoming over 70 feet tall, almost 100 feet tall, and being able to break through mountains and stuff, that's insane. If you told this to somebody who is just starting out in like, even in like Gen 3, they would go insane. Like, this is crazy. I love it though. They really upped up the big factor when it comes to these new things. Like, it seems like every game since X and Y, they've just been adding more and more things that are just like capable of destroying the entire world with these Pokemon. They're really, really showing how scary Pokemon can be. Like, for example, in Mega Evolution, like, yeah, Pokemon become even stronger. And then with Z moves, it's like, there was absolutely insane things with like the animations and all of the crazy stuff, like, all of the insane moves that Pokemon were using with Z moves. And now there's just Pokemon that are over 70 feet tall that are capable of destroying entire mountains with Gigantamax. Like, this is ridiculous. I know they don't technically like get any bigger. Gigantamaxing isn't like an added thing on Dynamax. It's just certain Pokemon get forms when they're Dynamaxed. It's kind of like how certain Pokemon get Mega Evolutions. It's essentially like every Pokemon has a Mega Evolution, but certain Pokemon, or like every Pokemon has the ability to Dynamax, but certain Pokemon have Mega Evolution-esque forms that they go through when they Dynamax. You know what I mean? It's almost, it's like if every Pokemon could Mega Evolve, but instead of actually Mega Evolving, most Pokemon just got stronger, and then the Pokemon that do actually also have Mega Forms turned into those Mega Forms. Does that make sense? Like, got new abilities and new things and all that stuff, new moves and all that kind of stuff. So, Gigantamaxing, am I excited about it? Yes, I'm excited to see what other Pokemon get Gigantamaxing forms. I think they're awesome. I think they're insane, but they're cool. I don't really know how to feel. Like, I like them, but I also... It's just insane. Like, Dynamaxing and Gigantamaxing is insane. I'm still trying to wrap my head around the concept. It feels like a fever dream. The fact that Pokemon could be hundreds of feet tall with this new Dynamaxing form. Like, it feels like if this was a thing, it almost makes the world hard to believe. And like, I mean that in sort of a negative way. And like, I'm trying hard to not be negative and stuff, but like, it feels surreal when it comes to Pokemon. It feels like it should be like, at the end, they're like, Dynamaxing has just been like your imagination all along. You know what I mean? Like, it's the power of friendship that makes your Pokemon, quote unquote, huge and powerful. But like, no, these Pokemon are actually just getting absolutely huge and doing whatever they want. You know what I mean? Like, it just seems like it's almost a little bit too much, but that doesn't necessarily mean it's a bad thing. You know what I mean? Okay, like I said, this episode is going to be somewhat shorter, so we're going to take a early random Pokemon of the week for this week. Of course, random Pokemon of the week, you know it well. It's the segment where we go through a random Pokemon every episode and talk about it. Hoping to talk about every single Pokemon eventually. This Pokemon... just a little bit of an idea of what to expect for the rest of the episode. We're going to go through random Pokemon of the week. We're going to go through a little bit more of the new stuff and a little bit of theory crafting in terms of some of the new things. And then we're going to do Move Tutor as always. And then we'll end the episode. Like I said, today's episode is probably going to be a little bit shorter than normal, but that's okay. It's just because I didn't really want to include all this new stuff and all these new things, as well as like a topic that I wanted to talk about, because I feel like if I had something I wanted to talk about, I either wouldn't get to talk about it as much as I wanted to, or I would talk about it too much and not get to talk about the new stuff as much as I want to. So you'll have to excuse me for having a sort of a shorter episode, but when it comes to the new news, we didn't really get all that much. So and I wanted to focus on one episode for just the new stuff. Consider it, it's a episode 10 gift, but it was kind of inevitable because of the new stuff. Like I said, I didn't want to put off the new stuff until 2 weeks from now. The hype would have died down pretty much. And I want to talk about my feelings about them as soon as they happen. So this episode's random Pokemon of the week is Rhyperior. Rhyperior is a ground rock type Pokemon introduced in Generation 4. It is number 464. It is the drill Pokemon. It evolves from Rhydon when trading, holding a protector. It has Lightning Rod, Solid Rock, and Reckless as its hidden ability. Gender ratio is 50-50. It is 7 feet 10 inches and weighs 623 pounds. Rhyperior is, of course, one of the Sinnoh editions, where they added a bunch of new evolutions for either Gen 1 or later Pokemon. Where they did like Magmortar, Electivire, Tangrowth, Licky, Rhyperior, Magnezone, all the, Porygon Z, all those Pokemon that were introduced in Sinnoh that got new evolutions, which I gotta say, I'm going to go off on a little bit of a tangent here before we continue talking about Mr. Rhyperior here. I almost miss when they did that. Because they did it in Gen 2, obviously. They added more evolutions and more pre-evolutions for Pokemon. They did it in Gen 4 with they added more pre-evolutions and evolutions for Pokemon. And then in Gen 6 we expected it, but they never did. They added Mega Evolutions, but they didn't add new evolutions to older Pokemon. And I wish that they would do that. They've gone through the kind of the pattern of, in Gen 6 and onward, adding less and less Pokemon as time goes on, because then obviously in X and Y we only got like 60 new Pokemon as opposed to the normal like 100, 150. But in turn, they gave us older Pokemon that you could catch in the game. And with Sun and Moon, they even added less Pokemon. They added a little bit more than X and Y, but they still added less Pokemon than normal. Which I thought was interesting. It never really felt like they added any new huge groups of Pokemon after Gen 5. And I almost wish that they would just add a bunch of new evolutions for Pokemon. I know it's probably harder than it looks, and I know it probably has something to do with their business strategy and what they want and what they don't want from Pokemon, certain Pokemon. But I think that maybe adding some newer evolutions to maybe like Gen 2, Gen 3, maybe even Gen 4 Pokemon would be awesome. Maybe even some Gen 1 Pokemon, who knows? I wouldn't be opposed to getting some new evolutions for Gen 1 Pokemon. It just seems weird that they haven't done that ever since Gen 4. I mean, that was 11, 12 years ago. You know what I mean? Like, they haven't added a new evolution for Pokemon. They've added new forms, they've added new Mega Evolutions, all that kind of stuff, but they've never added new evolutions for Pokemon in a long, long, long time. And whenever I see Rhyperior, Licky, Tangrowth, Magmortar, Electivire, I miss it. I get a little bit of sadness in my heart for the fact that they haven't added any more new evolutions for Pokemon. But anyway, Rhyperior, let's look at its shiny form. Of course, we go through the shiny form every episode and we rate it. I actually totally forgot what shiny Rhyperior looks like, and I gotta say, it's pretty darn nice. I think that in general, I'm gonna be honest, I think that in general Rhyperior looks really goofy. I think that it's one of the goofiest looking Pokemon out there. It's literally, like, I know it's literally just Rhydon, but with like the protector and like the plate kind of like put across its whole body with a few extra appendages added. But like, And I appreciate that its tail is like a wrecking ball, and then it like apparently it like shoots rocks from its hands because it has the signature move Rock Wrecker or whatever it's called. Yeah, Rock Wrecker, I think, which it learns at level 69, by the way. Like, it just looks so goofy, man. Like, if you haven't taken a good look at Rhyperior, please look up Rhyperior right now and look at it. Just, it looks like it has a bad haircut. And, like, it's so chunky. And, like, its big old eyebrows and its big old arms, they just look so silly and goofy. But, you know, I'm not here to rate a Pokemon's appearance. I'm here to rate a shiny. It's shiny. It's shiny. Okay, I'm gonna do something that I don't normally do. If this ever happens in a later episode, I will, you know, I'll call upon it and I'll say this. This might be a recurring thing. I don't know, but this is certainly the first time that I've mentioned it. In Generation 6, when they went through and imported all the Pokemon to 3D with the 3D models that they would continue to use for the rest of the games, they changed a few shinies. They made a few shinies look different. I mean, obviously, it's different when it comes to Pokemon that were introduced in Generation 1. Generation 2, of course, their shinies are going to change. But Rhyperior's shiny was stable upon, you know, in Diamond and Pearl and Black and White. It's got the very light yellow protectors, and its skin becomes like a light gray, which honestly looks amazing. I absolutely adore this shiny. 9 out of 10. You know, I'm holding myself to it. That is a solid 9 out of 10. I love Rhyperior shiny. But in X and Y and onwards, they changed it. They turned the very, very light gray into like a kind of a darker gray, almost like a beige. And then they took the very like pale yellow that was on the protectors, and they turned it into a like a gold. And I don't think it looks cool, but it doesn't work as well as it did before. Because it almost looks like, you know how when certain Pokemon get shinies, sometimes like the accent color on them, it just changes. Maybe the skin color, like the main color, changes a little bit, and the accent color just turns a different color. That's how I feel. That's what I feel like they did with this one. It's like the skin color isn't as big of a difference when it comes to the change. It almost looks like the same color, a little bit different, obviously, but like, you know, it's very similar. And then the gold, it looks like they just like shifted the hue up from the orange normally to the gold, and like it doesn't look bad, but it's a 7 out of 10. It's 2 places lower, and I think it's also partly to blame because of the fact that they also changed Rhyperior's colors in its normal form. In Diamond and Pearl, Black and White, actually it seems like in Black and White they even made it darker. Its skin color was a very dark gray, almost like a blue. It looked really good. And then compared to the shiny that it is now, or that it was, with the very, very pale light gray, almost a beigey skin with the very pale yellow protectors, they contrast really, really nicely. But then in X and Y, they made its skin lighter and more of just like a pale gray, more of just like a gray. And I think that it just doesn't compare as well. Like if you don't know what I'm talking about, go on Bulbapedia or go look at Rhyperior sprites and look at its Black and White shinies and Black and White sprites to its X and Y sprites and X and Y shinies. It looks like they're more simplified, and it looks like they're like, it's not necessarily a bad thing. I just don't think they look as good. I think that the Black and White shinies and the Black and White normal colors just look better. They look darker. They pop out to your eyes way more. And the X and Y ones just look like they kind of dulled it down a little bit. And, you know, it's not horrible, but it's a little bit bad. That's why I rated it 2 places lower. So, pre-X and Y, Rhyperior shiny, 9 out of 10. X and Y, shiny and after, 7 out of 10. Not as good, but still good. I like what they were going for. I like the design. I like the gray. I'm a sucker for gray, light gray, and then the yellow is nice. Okay, and of course, we're going to continue on and go to the Smogon page for Rhyperior. We have a big entry for you today, so I hope you're ready to listen to me talk. So Rhyperior, of course, is a ground rock. He is in the tier rarely used, which is 1, above never used, I believe, or 1 above PU, the worst tier. So it's the second worst tier. Rhyperior has an HP of 115, attack of 140, a defense of 130, a special attack and special defense of 55, and a speed of 40. So this is written by Cryo Gyro. Says Rhyperior's combination of physical bulk, useful resistances, and offensive presence lets it be an effective stealth rock setter on offensive teams. A rock/ground type makes for some fierce stab combination that enables it to threaten one of the most common stealth rock setters in Registeel, and force a decent number of switches, especially if offering to wall break with its choice band set. Said typing also provides some great resistances to fire, flying, and rock, making Rhyperior a good check for the likes of Salazzle, Noivern, and Choice Scarf Tyrantrum. Solid Rock somewhat makes up for Rhyperior's many weaknesses by letting it take a super effective hit from threats like Nidoqueen and +1 side guard 10% to KO back. However, it's easily forced out by common Pokemon like Milotic and Shaman, which can be vexing for offensive teams to switch into. A lack of recovery outside of leftovers and pathetic speed make Rhyperior easy for strong attackers to pick off mid or late game. So it seems like a very beginning of the game set Pokemon with good types, good offensive abilities, and also Stealth Rock. So its recommended moveset is Stealth Rock, Earthquake, Rock Blast /Mega Horn, and Toxic /Swords Dance. Leftovers is the item. Ability is Solid Rock, which Pokemon receives 3/4 of the damage from super effective attacks, which is really good. Its nature is Adamant, and it has 248 HP EVs, 16 attack EVs, and 244 special defense EVs. So we're going to go back to talking about the new things that were revealed. So there are some version-exclusive Pokemon and other version-exclusive things in the new games which have been revealed to us. So the Pokemon that you can get that we know that are regional variants are the pseudo-legendaries that are in the game. In Pokemon Sword, you can get the Dino line and the Jangmo-o line, and in Pokemon Shield, you can get the Larvitar line and the Gumi line. As well as in Pokemon Sword, you can fight the Fighting-type Gym Leader B, and in Pokemon Shield, you can fight the Ghost-type Gym Leader Alistair, the new gym leaders that were just revealed. So the version exclusives are like more than just Pokemon. There's now trainer exclusive, gym leader exclusives in Pokemon Sword and Shield, which is good. I'm happy because I'm getting both of the games, so I don't really have to choose. I can just get both of them. So it's a different experience, which I'm appreciating. I hope they do more version exclusive things in both of the games, honestly, and I mean that. Like, I think that the biggest thing between Pokemon games is I think they should have more version exclusive things. Maybe not Pokemon, but things. Okay, we are going to talk about the new Pokemon abilities. I mentioned a little bit earlier that we would go talk about them. So, of course, Yamper. We already know Yamper's new ability. Yamper ability is Ball Fetch. It says if the Pokemon is not holding an item, it will fetch the Pokeball from the first failed throw of the battle. We already know about that. But Gossifleur and Eldegoss have a new ability, which I honestly think is probably one of the best abilities so far. It says lowers the speed of a Pokemon that attacks this Pokemon. I assume it's just going to be an opposite version of Speed Boost, where if you attack a Pokemon physically, it lowers your speed. Simple as that. And honestly, with simplicity, that sounds amazing. That actually sounds like possibly one of the best abilities in the game, and I'm standing with that. If Sword and Shield becomes very popular competitively, which I have no doubt that it will, or at least the Pokemon that are in it will, once the new Pokemon games come out, if they continue with the Pokédex limitations, I think that Eldegoss will be a great addition. I really do, just because of that ability. Or if other Pokemon have that ability, maybe Whimsicott will get that ability. Who knows? And then Roly-Poly. Its new ability is Steam Engine, which says drastically increases its speed when hit by a fire type or water type attack. And honestly, that's pretty good. So if you manage to survive an attack as Roly-Poly, excuse me, survive a super effective water type attack, you're going to get that speed boost. And even if you somehow get hit by a fire type move as Lilliecon, you can still get that good speed boost, which is nice, which is really, really good. Okay, we're going to talk about the new characters. This is what I really, really wanted to talk about. The new characters that were added. So there were, obviously there was Bee and Alistair, the new fighting type and ghost type gym leaders respectively. I love their designs. I think that they are really, really well designed. I'm excited to fight them. And I noticed actually in the picture for Bee, she's holding a Ultra Ball, which is interesting, which means that she's probably going to be a later gym leader. And I assume if they're version exclusives, then Alistair will be her counterpart. So he'll probably... do we know the gender of Alistair? I assume Alistair is a boy, but I'm not sure. Alistair is a boy name generally, but I'm not sure actually. I don't know. It's hard to tell, obviously, because of the mask, which I really like, by the way. The shy guy looking new gym leader, really, really cool. But yeah, Bee is holding a Ultra Ball, which means that them two, if they are respective counterparts of each other, means that they're probably going to be later game gym leaders because of the fact that they have Ultra Balls, and you don't usually get those or see those until later in the game, obviously. There are some more new trainers, which are... okay. There is Chairman Rose, who is, like... He seems to, like... He's the chairman of the Galar Pokemon League. So he's like the man behind the gyms. He's the man behind the Pokemon League, the Elite Four, most likely. So he seems to be like the big boy in all of this. And I have just going with the nature of, you know, how video game characters are usually handled, it seems like he might not be as good as we think he is. I'm not gonna lie. I'm not saying that he's like, you know, maybe he's like the leader of the evil team. I'm not gonna make any assumptions. That would be cool. That would be a little bit cliche, but in a way it would also be pretty endearing. I think that it would be cool if he ends up being like the big bad evil guy, you know, the big bad boss, kind of like, you know, in a lesser sense, Giovanni, considering Giovanni was like a gym leader, you know what I mean? But like, he runs everything. It kind of reminds me of Lysander from X and Y. You know, he was kind of like really big, popular around the region, but he is obviously the leader of Team Flare. And it seems like Chairman Rose might have the same kind of deal going on. I'm not gonna lie. He has that vibe to him. He has that vibe that maybe there's a lot under there that we haven't seen yet. And of course, kind of supporting that idea is Oleana, the new vice president. She's the secretary of Chairman Rose, and she also looks like she could be a potential villain. I don't know. The two of them just have a very villain-esque vibe to them. I can't explain it. I have this feeling. I have the same feeling that I get when I look at like Lysander. I don't know. They look not very good. They look like they might be brewing up some trouble. They're obviously very prominent characters. They look like they're up to no good. Maybe I'm judging a book by its cover. Because we already know who the champion is, right? And like, you know, obviously, so like he's not the champion. He's like the leader of everything, you know what I mean? And usually in common tropes in storytelling, usually that guy maybe ends up not being so good. And with how enthusiastic Oleana looks, it's reminding me of, it's the exact situation that I'm reminded of is if you have ever played Paper Mario and the Thousand Year Door, Chapter 3 in Glitzville with you know, what was his name? Like Glubba or something. I forget his name. Like the big dude that was running the whole thing. You know, spoilers for Paper Mario and the Thousand Year Door in a Pokemon podcast. I'm sorry, but he ends up being the big bad guy that you fight at the end, the big bad boss that you end up beating at the end, and his secretary, also forget her name, ends up helping you, ends up kind of like rebelling against him. You know what I mean? And I have that vibe from them, and I think that might be what their whole deal is. Nintendo tends to repeat tropes like that, and I think that would be really interesting if it was the case. That's exactly the basis that I'm running it on, is literally Chapter 3 from Paper Mario and the Thousand Year Door. But of course I could be wrong. I'm probably gonna be wrong, but like, I don't know. That's the vibe I'm getting from them. That's what I think about them. Honestly, that's that's what I think is gonna happen with those two. But I could be wrong, like I said. So how do I feel about the new stuff that was revealed in general? I'm looking through my tabs here, and it seems like we've talked about everything that I wanted to talk about in this in the new information that was revealed. Again, I'm sorry, I know this episode is really short, only like probably going to be like 45 minutes, but I like it. I was surprised by the fact that they kind of just did it. You know what I mean? They just did it. They just gave it to us. They didn't reveal it in a direct. They didn't say anything beforehand. They just kind of revealed it. I woke up that morning at like 11 o'clock a.m. and I'm like, oh shit, like, oh man, is here. They've released new Pokemon stuff. I was like overwhelmed when I woke up because I'm like, oh man, they just released new Pokemon stuff. Like, what did I miss when I was asleep? You know, there was no telling of this beforehand. So it was a little bit out of the blue. But hey, I'm not complaining. I love the new stuff. I love the Gigantimaxing. I love the new characters. I love the new Pokemon. I'm excited. And also something else I wanted to talk about quickly. Talking briefly about what I said about the regional decks last episode, and how people are reacting to Pokemon Sword and Shield as a whole, and how negative the reaction has been. I just want to say, I think we should be patient. I think that we should be more understanding and more have an open heart with this kind of thing, because people have already pointed out that from the last trailer to this trailer, I'm going to go on a little bit of rant here, but they've updated things. They changed the backgrounds. They've made things looking crisper. They've made things better already. It's been only like a month and they've already improved on things. And like, I saw a tweet today that really summed up how I feel about people, the whole debacle about people not really being too impressed with Sword and Shield right now. It's in development still. You can't really complain about a game that's still in development. You know, they're working on it. It's not going to be finished, when they release a trailer. Of course, it is a few months away, and I can understand people's anxiety about it. But maybe, who knows? You don't know really what's going on in Game Freak. Maybe they were rushed to get out a trailer. Maybe they had to use an earlier version of the game. Maybe they were really focusing on the game mechanics first and the visuals very, very last. Maybe that's why. Maybe they're going to update everything and it's going to look beautiful by the time it comes out. The game already looks beautiful. I saw people comparing a picture of a tree from Sword and Shield and a tree from Legend of Zelda Breath of the Wild. And the only thing I want to say about that is that, like, they're different games, you know? Breath of the Wild is already finished. It's out. It's a full-fledged game. Sword and Shield is still in development. We don't know what's going to happen with this game. Yeah, it's a little bit weird to see an unfinished visuals to that degree in an official trailer from Nintendo, but they're just a game company like any other. There's different people working on Breath of the Wild than there is people working on Sword and Shield. It's almost a different game company. It is a different game company working on a Nintendo, and I'm not upset at how we're looking right now. I think the game looks beautiful. I'm not worried. Okay, that's a lie. I'm a little bit worried. I'm not going to lie. I'm a little bit worried, and that's unlike me. And I think that does say something about how things are going right now. But I think that we should have hope, and I really think that we need to have a positive outlook on how the game is looking so far, how far in development they are, how far they have left to go. And I think that they have lots of time to make things look better and and even if things come out exactly how they're looking right now, I'm not going to be upset. I can understand why people are upset, but I'm personally not going to be upset. I think the game already looks beautiful. I think that Let's Go Eevee and Let's Go Pikachu looked beautiful. The game looked amazing, and even if Sword and Shield looked like that, I would still be happy. I can understand, but it looks better than Let's Go Pikachu and Let's Go Eevee. You know? So I'm happy. I'm excited. I'm happy. I think that we should give them time. I think that we should be hopeful. But I'm not completely throwing people's worry and anxiety out of the water. I think it's understandable, but I think that we should look at it with an open heart and have hope in Game Freak, because has Game Freak really disappointed us that much before? I mean, come on, it's Game Freak, it's Pokemon. Even if the game doesn't turn out exactly how we want, it's gonna be a good game. It's Pokemon. They always make good games, and I know that's a little bit too hopeful, but I think it's a good I think it's a good thing to stand by. Okay, and for the last little section here, tying up everything together, we're going to go through everybody's second favorite segment of Extreme Evocast, which is Move Tutor, the segment where we go through a random move in Pokemon and we talk about it. I need to come up with something else, something a little more creative to coin that that segment, but we'll figure that out in the future. We got a lot of episodes and a lot of moves to go before, so I have a lot of time to think about that. So today's special move it's a move. Technically it is a move, but it's a Z move. It is Continental Crush, which is the rock type Z move introduced in Generation 7, obviously. Its Japanese name is World's End Fall. And this was actually what I was alluding to when I was talking about Gigantimaxing and Dynamaxing and how insane it is. I didn't want to mention it because this is what we're going to be talking about later, but I think that a move like Continental Crush, in Gen 1 it was so different, and now we even in Sun and Moon, we have a move where you literally take a gigantic boulder and you crush them. That's insane, but you already know how I feel about that. Okay, so Continental Crush inflicts damage. Its power is whether it is a special or physical move, depends on which move it is based on. Like every other, Z move. If Breakneck Blitz is used during a sandstorm with Weather Ball as its base move, Breakneck Blitz. Why is Breakneck? Oh, it will turn into Continental Crush. So if you have, that's actually interesting. So if you use the normal Z move, Breakneck Blitz, and it is used during a sandstorm with Weather Ball as its base move, which turns into the rock type, Weather Ball turns into rock type, it'll turn into Continental Crush. That's really interesting. Okay, so the description says the user summons a huge rock mountain using its Z power and drops it into the target with full force. The power varies depending on the original move. Not much I really have to say about Continental Crush. I can't really say any kind of information about it because its move is based on other moves. I guess we can go through what moves turn into Continental Crush when used. Those moves are Cell Rock, Ancient Power, Diamond Storm, Head Smash, Power Gem, Rock Blast, Rock Slide, Rock Throw, Rock Tomb, Rock Wrecker, Rollout, Smackdown, Stone Edge, and Weather Ball used in a sandstorm. That's it. That's essentially it. That's really it about Continental Crush. I assume the Z moves will be similar. I'll probably have an entire episode where I talk about Z moves, so I'm not going to go into it too much now. But I guess that wraps up Move Tutor for today. And with that, I'm going to end the episode. I'm sorry this episode was a little bit more news heavy, a little bit more of like a review other than a personal kind of look on things. I hope you still enjoyed it, though. I like having the balance, sometimes having a very personal experience centric episode like last episode, and focusing on news. I'm not going to give up the opportunity to talk about the new stuff that was just released, so whenever stuff like this is released, you can expect me to talk about it. It's as simple as that, and any other episode will be whatever else we talk about on this show. So I just want to say thank you all so much for supporting me. We're at 10 episodes, technically 11, but and this is the 10th episode. But thank you guys so much. While we have a small audience right now, I still very much appreciate everybody who listens, everybody who enjoys, everybody who just, silently supports my stuff. If you want, you can follow me on twitter.com/Extreme Evocast. To get updates on when episodes are released, and I'll sometimes reblog stuff retweet stuff that I think are important for the episode, like news updates, very important things. Maybe sometimes things I mentioned on the episode that I can't necessarily find at the moment, and I'll retweet it, and I'll so you can look at it then. I'll mention in the episode, I'll retweet it. So by the time this episode comes out, you can go check the Twitter and you can see it. So follow Extreme Evocast on Twitter, and also follow my personal Twitter. At Lillieceon. I post my art, I post my streams, my YouTube videos, all that stuff. It's also more of a personal account. But that's basically my hub for everything if you want to stay tuned with all of the stuff that I create. I also have a YouTube channel, a Twitch. All of them are just Lillieceon. You can check them out. Thank you. Like I said, thank you all so much for this milestone. I know it's not a big one, but it's still that, it's still that. And let's hope that we can get to 100 one day, maybe even higher than that. I hope so. At least that's what I plan. All right. Well, thank you all so much for listening to today's episode. I will catch you in the next one. Bye.